I've been recently reminded, let's say, the importance of really managing your breath and breathing deeply. And while I talk about it all the time, and I feel like I do that a couple of times a day, what I do, I've also noticed that I don't pay quite as much attention to it as I could. As I said, reading the other day about breathing deeply and the three-part breath. Right? I'm sure you've done this a time or two. Where you start by inhaling all the way down into the belly, letting that swell up, and then the breath kind of rises up into the bottom ribs and all the way up into the top of the chest. And then when you exhale, you start at the top and kind of work your way down. When you get just about out of breath, you pull your belly button in towards your spine and kind of squeeze that last little bit out. I realize that I'm going most of the time, I'm doing like 80 or 90% of that. Really getting the whole belly thing going, not breathing quite as deeply as I could be. So while I encourage it pretty regularly in class, I've really redoubled my efforts in the last week or so to pay attention to my breathing and to breathe deeply. At a time like this, we have this, well, it is a respiratory issue mostly, the coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you think you're calling it. It affects the lungs. At least that's the thing that'll get you. It's going to get you. And one of the best ways, without medical intervention, to clear the lungs, to maintain healthy lungs and bronchioles and little air sacs in there, is to breathe deeply. When we breathe shallow, the lungs don't get to clear out all the old garbage in there. So sit a few moments, or lay, or wherever you are, and breathe deeply. And I'll try to do the same. Try at least a few of them at maximum. As big an inhale as you can possibly squeeze in. And then the same with the exhales. Really push the breath out completely around. And then try and sustain it. Seems like it should be easy. I found it not to be so. I'm going to be quiet for a moment or two while I work on that. And I'll encourage you to do I'll encourage you to do likewise. I don't talk about it very often because, I'm a yoga teacher. I'm not supposed to do that sort of thing. well, let's see, how long was it? Oh, I spent somewhere around 25 years smoking cigarettes. Surprised it has a detrimental effect on the lungs to inhale smoke on a regular basis for years. But I really feel like yoga and the breathing that comes with it has been fantastic to help as much as can be done to repair some of that damage. If you're one of us, breathe deep. And even though occasionally it gets a little cough going, that's the body clearing something out. Good for you. What I really wanted to talk about at the beginning of class today was sitting. Now I feel like I've wasted my beginning time talking about breathing, but I'm going to do the sitting thing anyway. You may have heard me do it once or twice, but well, I find like breathing, we tend to take sitting for granted because we do it all the time and we feel like, hey, I got it. I'm pretty good at sitting. So option number one is just ankles crossed. And I've done this one for many, many a year. I don't know if you'd call it an anecdote or not, but one of my favorite anecdotes about this seat is that I'm pretty sure I can remember sitting this way in kindergarten. And that was a couple of years ago. Right shin in the front, left one behind. So step two to have a little confusion for the body is just to switch them around and put the opposite shin on front. You could give that a try and decide it's terrible and you never want to do that again. I find it interesting as a yoga practice because it causes me to pay attention to how I'm sitting, what my body's doing. My right foot doesn't know what to do with itself, so it keeps tensing and I feel like I'm leaning way over to one side. It's very interesting to observe what happens just by switching my shins around. Take a couple of big deep breaths that way. See how that goes. The next stage in developing a seat is to bring one heel in, right into the root of you, and then kind of stack the other heel up on top of that one. I could get a little more technical about it, but that'll do. So you end up with the knees out a little wider. And you can try this one with either foot on the bottom or the top. See how that goes. What we're doing in all of these seats is rotating the hips outward. There may be a little pressure in the knees, depending on how flexible yours are. If it becomes painful in the knees, move back a step and give that a little time. Be patient with your body. Take a couple of deep breaths. The next seat in the arsenal is half lotus pose. Now we're getting tricky. Back when I started doing this, right now it seems to me that handstand is the thing that, it's starting to fade, but handstand is the thing. Oh, everybody's got to be able to do handstand in yoga. Back when I started, it was Padmasana, lotus pose. Everybody has to be able to do lotus pose. You're not a real yoga practitioner. Anyway, for half lotus, left foot first. This bit's kind of important. You want to squeeze the knee in completely, the shin, back of the calf, right up tight to the back of the thigh first to compress the knee, and then rotate. Bring the top of your foot across the top of your hip, the opposite hip, obviously. And then you'd sit, twisted there. And maybe sit in that one for a few moments. Take a few breaths, see how it goes. I'll remind you about the knee pressure. Might be a little delicate line. Don't risk your knee. It's a pretty sensitive joint. It doesn't bend sideways very well. Don't force it. Wait for the hip to open. And then the whole lotus pose with the left foot up. Same thing, compress the right knee and then bring the top of that foot up onto the left hip. I suppose you could try this one with the ankles switched around as well and the opposite shin on top, but if you're going to do it properly, you put the left one in first and then the right one comes over. I'm not really sure why. Probably has something to do with how the energy in the body aligns. And this is ancient knowledge. I don't question. I just follow. Anyway, make a seat for a few moments. One that's a little advanced for you, but not killing your knees or your ankles, tops of your feet, or wherever it's getting you. And give it another few moments. We'll breathe. If you're not already seated, time to work yourself up into one of those. When you get to your seat, let's set an intention. Hands together in front of the heart, bow your chin. And connect. Then we're going to come back in. No, not back. We're going to come into tabletop pose. That's hands and knees. Another one not to take for granted. Pay attention to it. Knees under hips, wrists under shoulders, fingers forward, toes back. Try to lift your spine up toward the ceiling a little bit. Not cat pose, don't arch, but push the floor. And at least for me, it feels like I'm squeezing my knees toward one another a little bit, trying to lift the entire spine up. Let me try and demonstrate. Incorrect would be kind of slumped into the body, collapsing. A little more what I'm looking for is up here some. The belly's engaged a little bit. I'm trying to lengthen my spine up, top of the head, drawing forward a little bit, tailbone sort of tucking under, pulling back. So the belly has to draw in a little bit and not be saggy. Gaze is between the hands, and if your eyes are closed, well then your nose points between your hands. Breathe as deep as you can, in and out. Fill all the way up. Empty all the way out. And then add movement with cow and cat. Inhales, lift the nose, sag the belly, tailbone lifts, and the spine sways. And then exhale, we make cat pose, and the chin tucks under, and the spine rolls up into an arch as the belly draws in and squeezes the last of the breath out of you. And then you'll go back and forth. Inhale up. with your nose anyway. Exhale, curl it up. Push the back. Inhale up. It's fairly simple. I imagine you've picked up the pattern. One more time. Up on an inhale. And curl under an arch deep on an exhale. And then come back to neutral. Stay engaged. Flop into the thing. We're going to make some little side bends out of this. Let your hips slide over to the left, kind of a little more weight into the left knee, and look back over your right shoulder, curving the spine around. Take a couple of breaths at it. If you're pretty flexible in this one, you can turn your hands to point sideways, drive in a little further. There's also an option where you kind of let the hips sink way down, maybe all the way onto the floor. Anyway, come back to the center, make an inhale, and exhale, go the opposite direction. Weight into the right knee, hips to the right, chin goes to the left. Maybe the hands around thing. Maybe you dip way down into the right hip. Maybe something a little different. Maybe some combination of the two. Come back into the middle. That's an inhale. And then at your own pace, exhale, hips one way, chin the other. And if you want to make it a little intense, you will. Inhale, center. Exhale, go the other way. So we took the spine forward and backward with cow and cat. Now we take it a little side to side, add some twisting. Try to maintain deep breath. Back and forth you go. One more time around. If you're following me, we started hips left. You want to stay even, you'll finish hips to the right. And then you'll come back to neutral. Let's rest a little in child's pose. Knees wide, big toes together. Sit back, stretch your arms forward, and lower yourself down toward the mat. Deep breaths in child's pose. Here's what I like. I'm going to come up on now. I lift my elbows a little bit and extend my arms forward just a little further, maybe a little closer together. Then I open my hands, spread my fingers, push with the hands, and try and extend the arms and drive the hips back toward the heels a little more. In my body, it's a nice shoulder stretch. Then it gets into the armpits, kind of here along the side body. Here, I don't know if you can see my hands. Let's try a little side bend in child's pose. We're going to come onto the fingers and walk them over to, let's say, the right side of the mat. Keep the belly between the thighs and extend out through the left arm. Again, I'm using my fingers for traction to kind of pull and get a little big and get a little stretch up the left side. And then a few great big breaths. Expect some intensity when you inhale. Let's try that on the other side. Come onto the fingertips and walk back through center and then hands over toward the left. Just enough to stretch up the right side. Maybe you reach a little further with the right arm. belly between the thighs, couple of deep breaths. And bring it back through the center. And maybe you settle in and take a breath or two there. Before too long, we're going to work up the tabletop, hands and knees. And if you need to cat and cow, a little side to side or something to kind of reset and shake that off, do that. Let's go knees together. And then like child's pose, big toes together, but the heels roll outward. And then you'll sit back between. So I said big toes together. Yours may, in fact, even cross over, so your toes end up kind of on top of each other. Your feet this way. Sit tall. Maybe lifting a little. Get your core working. Shoulders down. Just breathe. Just breathe deep. That's option one. Option two, toes together, heels together. Try and keep your heels together. I'm going to use my hands to help mine. And then set back on the heels. This one's a little more intense on the tops of the feet here, in front of the ankles. Lift up, sit tall, breathe deep. You might want a little prop of some sort for the next one. A blanket, a pillow, if you got a block. That'd work out pretty well too. We keep the knees together, but the feet go a little bit wider than the hips. By the way, toes backwards, not sideways this way, but back. And then you walk your hands back. Pro tip, I use my thumb to pull my calves down and out so they don't end up bunched up behind the knees. And then we sit in hero's pose. A prop was to elevate the hips a little bit if the floor is just too darn far away. Then you sit on a blanket or a pillow, a couple of books. Heaven forbid you had a block or something. Really anything will do. You're looking for 4 inches, maybe 6. Maybe a little bit less. Sit just on the edge of your thing there and get just an inch or two. Look out. You could also, turns out, take your hands and put them back behind you and sit on them. And that'll get you just a little bit. Might be enough. Lift up, sit tall, breathe deep. Leave you at it for another few moments. Virasana, another big knee stretcher. This one we're pretty safe with. We're not twisting or anything like that, just straight back. That's part of the reason the toes point backwards, is if you turn your feet sideways, you're putting pressure on your knees. Don't do it. It's trapped. By the way, since I know who's in class with me this morning, you might be able to bring your hands back behind your fingertips, touching the toe tips. Bend into your elbows a little bit. Slide knee forward a little bit here so I can maybe down onto the forearms. Now we're starting to get a stretch in the front of the thighs. Way up here at the top of the hip psoas muscle. You can stay vertical. But head back here with me for a few moments. Help yourself to that. You may even be able to lower yourself all the way down onto your back. Set your head on the floor. Again, just a little more intensity in the fronts of the thighs, fronts of the hips. Don't go any place you can't breathe deeply in. By the way, if you lay back and you want to make your knees a little wider, that's the thing. If you reclined, come on back up. If you're about tired of that one, yeah, me too. There, got there. Bring yourself back up to tabletop, however it is you get there. I'm going to recommend you straighten one leg and then the other back behind you. Flex the knees a little bit. Get the prana flowing back through there. Just feels nice. But anything you want between postures to kind of shake it off and rehabilitate yourself a little bit. Well, since we got started that way, let's keep it up. Step back onto the ball of your right foot. Push back through your heel. Try to keep the right hip sort of coming forward and down here. Let me exaggerate. Not flaring open this way, but down and in. And not crossing over or anything either, but trying to get the hips flat across. Although now that I've done it, let's try this. We want to be inside arch of the right foot. So you can twist the hips open a little bit, maybe even lift the right hand, a little supported side plank. And then engage the glutes a little bit. Push the hips forward. Just a little. Not trying to arch the spine or anything. Just trying to get a little length here in the front of the hip. Gaze up. Assuming your hand went up. Engage the body. Push with the foot. Reach with the top of the head. Maybe the arm up over there too to extend the side of you. If your hand came up, put it back down. Come back on the ball of your right foot. And then we're going to try going the other direction with that foot. So you come onto kind of the outside edge of the foot and let the right hip dip down toward the floor. Maybe you can even lift your left hand. Make this kind of reverse, I don't know, really awkward side plank thing. I'm not doing that. But I like that hip dropping in here thing. It's a nice little stretch. Get something here in the side, just outside the hip. Back through center and onto the ball of the right foot. We're going to pick that foot up. Mind your hip doesn't open up. You keep them flat, just there across the floor. Right even with left, reach back through your toe. And engage your left. Energize. Legs are heavy. If you haven't recognized it yet, just give it a few breaths and you will. As we did in tabletop at the beginning, don't kind of collapse into the thing and get schlumpy. Stay up. Stay strong. Belly lifting the back. Arms lifting the chest. Not bearing down. Working at it a little. Breathe deep. Let's add some balance. Pick up your left hand and extend it forward. Thumb up, little finger down. Look forward to see where your hand's going. Collapsing. If you need to put your hand or your foot down at any point, you're welcome to do so. This is called spinal balance. So if it feels a little bouncy, a little wobbly, you're doing it right. Lift up, no collapsing. Reaching forward with the fingers, with the tip of the nose. Reaching back with the tip of the toe. Check the weight in the right hand. Don't dump into your wrist. Push with the fingers. Some of that weight out into your palm. Bring the left hand down to the floor. Take the right foot, that's that one we're still holding up back there, bring it across behind the left leg. You can set your toes down on the floor and look back over your shoulder. You're going to spot your left heel. Breathe deep. All right, now we're going to plug the right knee in behind the left. You can wiggle yours in there a little bit, get it tight, do that. Take your feet away from one another, it'll help. A little bit wider. And then we're going to try to walk the hands back. This is tricky. Come up to standing on our knees. Feet a little wider, give you a little more stability. Might take you a second to get up there. And I don't know about yours, but the leg I've got behind here, the right leg, big stretch here in the front of the hip, the front of the thigh. Glutes engaged a little bit, as if I could push my hips forward and lift up out of the waist. Ooh, there it goes. Arms up. Look up. Another balancer. A little movement happens in the body when we balance. A little muscles doing their jobs. Fingers up, shoulders down. Nose up, push into the knees. Lift with the inhale. Since we're doing half eagle, let's go all the way. Right arm out in front. Cross the left arm over as high up as they'll cross. And then wrap them around. And do what you can with it. Spiral your forearms, lift your elbows. Keep your shoulders down. Strong breath. Okay. One more. Biggest breath you can manage. Empty out with the exhale. And then unwind your arms and get back down to the floor. That proves tricky for me. Hip doesn't want to go back now that I got it out. Go on, get out there. Keep your legs crossed. Keep your feet wide. We're going to turn this into Gomukhasana, the cow face pose. You might want to block and you might need to unwind and get out of this thing. We'll cover that in a sec. But if you can manage it, you'll bring your hands back. You'll sit back between your heels. Now your knees might pop apart a little bit. And if the whole body just kind of popped apart on that one a little bit, you can get to this one from seated too. Cross the left leg over the right. Pull the heel back outside your hip. And then bend the right to pull that heel outside the left hip. And when you end up, cow face. Try to let the weight settle into the hips. Give it a few moments for the hips to figure out what the heck you're doing. And if you can get your knees stacked a little more, do that. Not a contest. Just moving toward more intensity. Deep breath. Let's do the arm bit on this one. Right arm goes up, palm faces backwards. You'll bend your elbow, pat yourself on the back. Left arm goes out to the side, palm up. Reach it up and over. Grab your right elbow. Then use your left hand to draw the right elbow back. Just a little. As if you were going to get yours back behind your head. Don't let your shoulders creep up around your ears. Don't let your belly get schlumpy. Chin up. If you want to try a bind in this one, you can take the left hand out to the side, thumb down. Bend the elbow, come up from the bottom. And see if you can get your left hand all the way up there to lock the fingers in with the right. either case, we're working the right elbow back behind the head, stretching into the right armpit, the back of that arm. Probably doing some work with the left shoulder too if you reached up from underneath this way. Long neck, sit tall. Breathe deep. Your arm, well, let go of whatever the heck it is your arms are doing. Bring them back around front, maybe shake them off a little bit. Burning it up over here. Oh, darn it. Should have left you in the bind. I'll tell you what, let's do it this way. So we're still sitting with the knees in this crossed over thing. Sit tall. And then hands to the knees, fold forward, or hands to the floor. Come forward slow, a little bit at a time. Every time you inhale, top of the head is lifting away from the hips. We're engaging here at the middle to lift up and out. Every time you exhale, you sink a little further into the thing. And maybe you can put your nose all the way down to your knee. Maybe you don't need to go that far. Take your time. You got a couple of breaths to work into it. One more, at least one more on my count. Inhale your way back up to seated. All right, one more thing, and then we're going to switch sides. We're going to bring the right, the shin that's on the bottom, or the leg that's on the bottom, bring that shin forward so it's sort of parallel with the front of the mat. And then we're going to take the other shin and try and stack it on top. Turn a little bit, you can see what I'm doing here. Get up there, shin. Now, you might start way back here. That's just works better for yours. But what we're going for is ankle up on top of the knee, and then this knee down toward the other ankle. This is Logs of Fire pose. Sit tall. By the way, in case you haven't noticed, it's not a crime if your knee here doesn't get down to your ankle. Some of you might even prop yours up a little bit here, or maybe it's getting you over on this side. Flex your feet, pull your toes back towards your knees. Push through the heels. Again, one to mind that your knees are twisting. This is a hip rotation, not a knee rotation. Those don't rotate. It's not by design. You can stay vertical, or if you want to fold forward in this one, see what you can do with that. By the way, folding forward might just mean drop your chin on your chest. Some of you might be able to extend your arms and lay it across your legs. Breathe deep. Come on back up to seated. Unwind your legs and get yourself back through into tabletop pose. However the heck you get there. I know, we gotta do the whole thing now on the other side. At least the pieces of it I can remember. When you get back to tabletop, you wanna shake them out a little bit, or cat and cow or whatever it is you need to do that. And then we're going to start back on the ball of the left foot. And push back to the heel. Engage the leg. Activate. Activate the core of you. Lift a little more toward the ceiling. Push with the hand. Again, we don't want the hip to flare open or collapse in. Right in the middle is where it goes. But if I remember correctly on the other side, what we ended up doing, playing around a little bit, was coming onto the inside, the arch edge of the left foot, and taking the left hand up. Yeah, it's balancing. And making sort of a supported side plank. Your hand went up, you look up at it. You're trying to reach up with that left hand by pushing with the right. Maybe you stretch the side body by taking the left arm out overhead. Push with the foot, reach with the hand. Big breaths. Bring the left hand back down. Come back onto the ball of the left foot. And then, we went onto the outside edge of the foot, which was weird. And dropped the left hip in. And I believe I tried a side plank variation on the other side. And yeah, I don't like it on this side either. I'm just trying to let the hips twist the opposite directions. Seems like a lot of weight out here in the left arm too. This is experimental. Come on back to the middle. Onto the ball of your foot. All right, now that the hips have been both ways, get them just into the center. Keep them there when you pick your left foot. Put your toe back. Engage the leg. Reach back to the toes. Feel the muscles of the thigh squeeze around the bone. No slumping. Lift toward the ceiling. With your spine. Not arching. Top of the head reaching forward, the toe reaching back. Here's that part where your leg starts getting heavy. Don't cheat, dump into the hip, twist. Nope. Stay flat, stay strong, breathe deep. Let's add the balance. The right arm up. Extend it out in front of you. Thumb up, look forward. Engage, lift, extend. Deep breath. We're going to put the right hand down, leave the leg suspended, it's getting heavy back there. We cross the left leg over, set the ball of the foot on the floor, and with an exhale, back over the right shoulder, spot the left foot. Trying to figure out which one's which sometimes. Which foot is that? Big twist, big breath. Plug the left knee in behind the right. Wiggle it in there a little bit. Feet wide, heels wide, or whatever the heck that is. We're going to try and walk the hands back and see about coming up to standing on this one. Glutes engaged to push the hips forward a little bit and get a stretch in the front of the left thigh, the left hip. Stand taller. Breathe deep. I believe we went with arms up next. Wobbly. Lift up and keep the shoulders down. Chin up, make your breath strong. Since we got this baby eagle thing started, left arm comes out in front, right arm crosses over, and then you're trying to wrap them around one another. And then spiral them in, maybe lift the elbows, get the shoulders away from the ears, back long. Balance and breathe. Arms unwrapped, maybe a little shaken out. We're going to work our way back down. Once I finally get up into this thing, it seems so difficult to get back down around it. Anyway, we're heading for Gomukhasana, calf face pose, so you'll keep the heels wide, walk the hands back, sit back between the heels. And if yours won't go that way, then you come onto your bottom, right over left, heel outside the hip, and then you take the left heel and you bring it back outside the right hip. And you can stop somewhere along the way, by the way, as far as yours goes. And let's see, we're seeing about stacking the knees up here. Both hips on the floor. Get my heel up underneath my right one. There we go. Sit up tall. Lift out of the waist. Breathe. Let's try the arm thing with this. Left hand up, palm faces backwards, bend your elbow, pat yourself between the shoulders, and then right hand goes out and up and over. Grabs your left elbow and starts trying to work it back behind your head a little bit. Again, don't let it get your neck and your shoulders to bunch up. Not what you're looking for. Take some breath. And if you want to try to bind, it was right arm out, thumb down. Bend that elbow. Come up from the bottom. Find your left hand. Again, don't go so far you can't breathe. It's kind of important. Unwind your arms, give them a little shaking out. Hands either onto the knee or out next to the thighs. We're going to sit tall with an inhale. The exhale, start to come forward. Maybe a little. Maybe quite a lot. Inhales with length, top of the head, lifts up and away. Exhale, see if you can get a little deeper into the thing. Big deep breaths. That seems about like about enough time. If you want to stay, you could, but not yet in class. Back up to seated. We're going to make it logs of fire. So the left shin on the bottom, parallel with the front of the mat, and then the right shin up on top of the left. And if yours starts a little more open, that'd be fine. If you need to support something somewhere, you will. If you flex your feet, pull your toes back towards your knee. Sit tall, breathe deep. if you like. Hands down, fold forward. That's not going to work for mine on this side, so it's going to be more like chin onto my chest. But don't let my limit be yours. If you can extend your arm, lay on your shins, you go right ahead. Come on back up. Unwind the legs. Extend them out in front of you. Walk them out a little bit. If your knees need a little space, I don't have it. Maybe a little bit of space between the feet. Just felt myself shift off of my hip bones. You can take your hands and kind of pull the flesh out from behind. Get those sit bones down onto the floor. Set yourself up tall. Engage here to lift. You might let your hands to support you, or if you extend yours forward or up. And breathe. Lifting out of the waist. One more inhale, look up and lift. And then come forward slowly. Maybe it takes a couple of breaths to get there. You're going to eventually get maybe down to your toes or the outer edges of your feet. Keep your chin up as long as you can manage it. Reach forward with the nose. Anytime you're ready, you can round your neck. Put your nose between your knees. Biggest inhale, biggest exhale. Back up to seated. We're going to bend the knees and put the soles of the feet on the floor. Let's call it a casual distance away from the hips. Again, hands back behind you. That's how yours will support you. Otherwise, we're going to try and kind of pull the chest toward the knees, just a little bit, the belly toward the thighs. Sit up here. Maybe hands on the shins, that'd support you. Or arms forward, or maybe up. The idea is to kind of work the core of you. Lifting yourself, drawing forward, lifting up, and breathing. Should have probably done the breathing thing first. Alright, we're going to turn this into boat pose. You're going to roll back onto your tailbone a little bit. Pick your feet up off of the floor. Arms forward, big. Legs extended, big. The same idea, chest forward, belly forward toward the thighs, toes up, gaze forward, knees together-ish, breathing. It's supposed to be hard, so if you're working at it, congratulations, you're doing it right. All right, put your feet on the floor, bring your heels in close, squeeze your knees together, wrap your arms around. Big inhale, lift up and sit tall. When you exhale, come forward, try to get your nose between your knees. Give yourself a hug. See how big you can make your breaths. Stretch into the back of the body. One more time in Navasana. Back up, arms out, feet up, chest toward the thighs. That's one. Two. Three. 4. One more. 5. Put your feet on the floor and roll yourself onto your back. Knees bent. We're going to make bridge pose. So feet on the floor, knees up toward the ceiling, hands at your sides, palms down. Take a couple of breaths, let the body be heavy and kind of relax. Exhale, draw the belly button in, push the spine down into the floor. And then with an inhale, press into the feet and lift the hips up. Bridge pose. That's one. Lift on your inhale. That's two. Maybe hands together behind your back. Interlace your fingers and roll your shoulders under. That's three. Push with the feet. You're trying to drive the hips up over the shoulders. That's four. Just one more breath. Give it all you got. Use an exhale to lower slope. Hands out of the way, one vertebra at a time down onto the floor until your hips hit the mat. Rest for a breath. Extend the left leg out. Put your heel on the floor, let your foot fall open. Pull the right knee to the chest, both hands to the front of the shin. Exhale, draw the knee in. And every time you exhale, you're trying to squeeze the knee in closer. Swish the breath out of you. Take 2 fingers on the right hand, way down and get the big toe, or maybe the outer edge of your foot. Then we're going to make sort of half of happy baby pose. You point the sole of your right foot up at the ceiling. Your knee either outside your shoulder like mine's going, or if you're on the inside, your knee in towards your armpit. Left leg active. Extend out through the heel, push the back of the knee into the mat. Going to keep hold of the right foot, either the outer edge or the toe or something like that. We're going to try and extend the right leg, push the heel up toward the ceiling. If that's pretty easy for you to do, then you'll start to bend your right elbow and pull your toe up over your head like splits on your back. Deep breath. the right knee, bring the heel back to the hip. We're going to release the right leg. Stretch it out long. Heel out to the corner of the mat, let the foot fall open. And let's do the other side. Draw the left knee in. Hands around the shin or the back of the thigh, wherever you can get. Squeeze it in close when you exhale. Inhale big and squeeze that knee in a little closer when you exhale. And repeat. Half of happy baby. 2 fingers on the left hand, get the big toe where you can get the outer edge of your foot. You try to point the sole of your foot up at the ceiling and hug the knee in close. Activate the right leg, push out through the heel, drive the back of the knee down into the mat. Just so it's not laying there doing nothing. Let's try to extend. Left hand still has the left foot, or the toe, or whatever. We're going to push that heel up toward the ceiling. If yours needs a little more extension, pull your toe up over your head. Give us some trouble. But I got one last thing. Bring that left heel back in, bend that knee. We're going to put the soles of the feet together. The knees a little wide. Maybe hands at your side or onto your belly. Interlace your fingers and bring your hands behind your head. Our next posture is Shavasana. I'm going to ask you to take 3 more breaths, and this one's your big, long, deep breaths. You make 5 instead of 3, maybe a few more. Maybe you enjoy this one and you stay. Make this your Shavasana pose. Remember, you're not a fan, so you extend your legs out. Bring your hands alongside your body. It's important that Shavasana be comfortable, easy to do, so that the body can actually relax. And no part of you has to stay active, work at something. And no part of you feels like it's being, I don't know, twisted off, ground into the mat. It's important that Shavasana be comfortable. You don't need to control your breath. Let it go wild. Let your body be as heavy as yours will be, as relaxed as yours knows how. Just float a few minutes, maybe observe your thoughts, rest your body. Be aware of the space within you, the thoughts, the breath, the sensations of the body. Be aware of the space without you, the mat beneath you, the room around you, the sounds, the smells. Start to add movement into the body, awakening, stirring. You got about a minute or so to bring yourself up to a seat. Take your time. If you want a cleansing breath, good morning stretch or two. yourself to some of that. If you got a new seat you're working on, after the whole seat thing at the beginning of class. We're going to end our practices as usual in gratitude. Hands together in front of the heart, we bow our chin. My gratitude to each of you joined me this morning. See this later. Truly grateful that you allowed me to guide you through your practice. It's a special thing. I try not to take it lightly. Lift your chin, lift your heart, let your light shine. The light in me, I see the light in you, and my light bows to yours. Namaste.